Hey, checking in. Taking a little break here in between mud mixes. I'm still taping and mudding the project I'm on right now. And while I work, I usually throw on some headbuds or earbuds or headphones and listen to these YouTube channels. I listen to real estate videos, a lot of investor videos, that kind of stuff. And kind of passes the time while I'm working. It's therapeutic. But anyhow, the channel starts jumping to different videos after a while. So it kind of throws some recommended stuff into the mix. So all of a sudden I skip on to some investigative journalist stuff. I don't even know what channel it was, but there was a couple of them in a row, which I found really fascinating. So basically, there was investors out of state that were buying these trailer parks, the mobile home parks. And that was kind of a big thing for a while because you could buy them right, and there's plenty of room to raise rents and yada, 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 right? Quickly, take advantage of the low rates and make money, syndicate it, get investors in. So you had a lot of these, I'm going to call them MBA engineer types or financial engineers, great on an Excel spreadsheet, but really didn't know the housing business, but just were financial tools making, turning numbers on the spreadsheet. And the business is much more than that. It's not, that's part of the business, but it's a full contact sport. You got to manage the property. You got to understand rents. You got to understand the population you're serving. It is a service industry. It is a financial asset, but it's not only a financial asset. It is a service business. So anyhow, I'm listening to this investigative journalism. So this syndication investment group went in and bought these mobile home parks. And then they raised the rents, right? Which is perfect, right? They got to provide return to their investors. Absolutely. What created the problem was they started doing 30-40% rent increases a year and then going on a month-to-month lease. So they could raise the rents at any time. So these people that own the mobile homes were stuck paying rent that can fluctuate month to month. Probably I'm going to guess they had a 60-day notice on it. The channel didn't go into that. And I don't know exactly how much it went up. Was that spread that big a difference? 40% sounds like a lot, but if it was truly undervalued, maybe it wasn't that much. But it got enough people up in arms where several channels did investigative journalists on it. Several mobile home parks were targeted in the investigation, all with the same story. And these tenants were saying they can't afford their rent anymore and they were going to be homeless. Part of me cracked up at that, right? It's like, okay, you get some MBA types that sit down on an Excel spreadsheet, pull some of their friends' money, and they invest in this. And they forget the underlying, they're buying the asset and they think it's a financial vehicle. They'll crank up rents and then they'll get the number up, right? But that's only one aspect of the business. They're in the service business providing housing, right? So they miss that component of the business, which is creating problems throughout the country. With the house prices skyrocketing, rents skyrocketing, they're going to go after, they being the government, is going to try to protect these renters. And unfortunately, when you're dealing with the government, they've got one tool and it's a hammer, and they're going to use it and not effectively. So my fear is with investors doing stupid things like this, there's ways to increase the return without killing your customer, So they've got the customers angry. They got the news media behind them. There's this big pushback to affordable housing. The house prices are out of control. And they're going to focus in on the investors and the landlords instead of the real problem, because some investors that aren't in the housing business are doing stupid things out there. And it's not all of them, right? There's some great syndicators out there that are doing great work. But these few are creating lots of problems. So I foresee the government's going to step in. Different, counties, cities, states even, will start doing rent controls. And they'll start squeezing the investors, right? Because they're going to be the big bad wolf that's causing the housing problem, which they aren't. But like I said, they've only got one tool, and that's a hammer. And now we've given them fuel for the fire by doing stupid things, by pissing off the customer, So we have some responsibilities as landlords, taking care of our customers, providing good housing, and providing it at a fair price, and not letting the rents fall so far behind that you have to do a 40% rent increase in 1 year. You ease them up to where it needs to be at market rate. So just kind of prepare that we're going to see some stuff coming down the pipeline. There's not much to do to stop it, because no one's going to listen to the real answer, and the real answer is providing more housing supply. And what's driving that is the zoning regulations, the smart growth, as they call it, preventing urban sprawl. So they're forcing land prices to skyrocket, which forces, also you got to talk about the building permits. Building permits are percentage, right? So it's not really a permit then, it's more of a tax. So when you're, paying 20, 30, 40, 50 grand on a building permit, is that 20, 30, 40 grand worth of service, or is that a tax? And that's a big number on a house, right? Especially when we're screaming about affordable housing. Choking off land so you can't develop to try to prevent urban sprawl. Well, it kind of creates two different things. And I'll go into this later when I have time after this project. I'll sit down and kind of demonstrate how the cities are growing. You have the central core, and then you have suburbia, kind of grows like that. And you're getting second, third ring suburbs. And then all of a sudden they choke off supply. So that drives that inner core land value up, which drives house prices up. And the only place to build now is you either got to go super expensive because of the land price, because of the building permits, and because of the building codes. So then the only thing they can really control, they being the builder, is to jump outside that central core and go out to the next urban area. So they're going to leapfrog out to another community to tap off their water and sewer. There are some states that let you do private septic. You can do some of that. Some states, some counties kind of restrict that. So it depends where you're located. Where I'm located, you can do some of the septics, but you can't do a community septic. You can't get like 200 houses to share one septic system. You can do 2.5 acre lot minimum and put a septic per house. But that's still super expensive land. So then the option is to jump out to the next community, which may be 30 miles away, 40 miles away, and leapfrog out to there. So you're getting actually a bigger urban sprawl. But I'll dig into that later. So my point being is, as an investor in housing, a small investor like me, there's not a lot of options, right? With these regulations that are ultimately going to come down with rent controls, it's going to force, you either got to get really big where you can kind of control the legislation, using Wall Street money, because they seem to never be impacted by the regulations because they're the ones writing the checks. Or you got to find a niche market where to get into that you hope you can kind of avoid a lot of these rent controls. And that's going to be, primarily cities are going to do it, sometimes counties, maybe even sometimes states. So kind of keep your eye open for that stuff coming down the pipeline. It's unfortunate. If you are, one of these investors that are jacking up rents, kind of think twice about doing it. Don't fuel the fire for more legislation, because that does not help anyone. It doesn't help the customer in the long run. They might think they win a victory, right? But all they're going to do is choke off available housing, and housing is going to get worse and worse and worse. What we need to do is somehow open up development, encourage developers to build more, open up more land for development, and just production. You just got to produce more housing. Simple supply and demand. So those were my thoughts as I was working today. I'm about to start the next batch of mud here, so I just wanted to check in. If you got any questions, I'm kind of rambling here, but go ahead and put something in the box, and I will reply with another video. Until next time, take care.